Marking in 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Yo, how's it going? I'm Andy, put on your Sunday clothes Taylor, and welcome to another episode of The Andy Taylor Show. Today we are going to be meeting with a good friend of mine. His name is Joel Bellucci. Joel's camera wasn't operational during the call, so I created an AI avatar of him, and it looks pretty gosh darn close to what he looks like in real life. Met Joel back in 2021, where we bonded pretty quickly over psychedelics. And yeah, you guessed it, this episode is mainly going to be about psychedelics. Specifically psilocybin, which is the main psychoactive component of magic mushrooms. But before we get started, please know Joel and I are not doctors, medical professionals. We're not psychedelic therapists. These are just two dudes who had a beautiful journey with psychedelics in their lifetimes, just trying to share some downloads that we have from the heart. So if take all of it or none of it, we're just trying to give kind of our experiences. So please use your best judgment, do your own research, take things slow and as educated as you can, because let's face it, psychedelics can be very dangerous and damaging to a lot of areas of your life. If you're digging the content in this episode, please do me a favor. Lick the like button, oxytocin hug the subscribe button, and phalange stroke the mind box. Your feedback really helps my channel grow, and I appreciate your support. All right, moving on. Let's get started with the show. One big Om. Om.
That's a fine slate markers, honestly. On the few like movie sets that I've worked on, you use whatever's available. And like apple boxes are often used to like raise people's seeming height, and they just stack them up to make their hero character look taller than the people they're talking to.
Yeah, I had to get rid of all my apple boxes when I moved, but
Oh,
I'm no stranger to an apple box.
oh, of course, yeah, that's right. You have a history
The
with such
the
things too.
the full, the half, the quarter, and the pancake, baby.
All right. Oh yeah, you know your stuff.
Yeah, it came in handy. I can't wait for more. I've got some back where we used to live there near you in Clearwater. I've got a couple of apple boxes, and like every day I'm like, I need this apple box in my life. It's so strange how the mind gets used to it. You know, like
Oh yeah.
they're so versatile, and they're just a wooden box. Like
I know it's amazing what you can do with something simple.
yeah,
Less is
so
more.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I was thinking back to when we actually met,
yeah,
which I think was summer or fall of 2021.
yeah,
Because I started experimenting with psychedelics in early 21, like February. And then by, I think, midsummer, I'd found my way to a local psychedelic circle. And then
yeah,
subsequently, that's where you and I met.
yeah, yeah. Should we name that circle?
Oh, sure. If you're right, I don't even remember the name. I remember
I
the.
think it's literally just called the. I mean, it's grown. It's so huge now, Joel. Because I know you
Oh,
kind
is
of
it? It's
stopped
been a
going.
while since I've attended.
It's huge. Like I went to a meeting there, and there was like over 50 people.
Wow. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I think it's just literally the Tampa Bay Psychedelic Society or something like that. It's literally if you're on Meetup and you're anywhere near Tampa, just type in psychedelics on Meetup, and it's like the number one thing.
Cool. I'm
But yeah,
glad to know
yeah,
that it's still going strong. That's great.
yeah. That's where we met. And like what I was thinking was funny was like with like plant spirit, like it's totally conscious of you type of thing where like I moved to Clearwater, and before coming to Clearwater I was in LA. I was loving cashew cheese, right?
Hmm.
And I get to Clearwater, I'm like, there isn't any nut cheese in any of the stores, really, let alone cashew. So I started making my own. And this would have been like a month before I went to the psychedelic society, right? And it was just so high vibrational that when you and I met, I was just like, like, how do I source this? And you're like, I might have a contact. And it's like, and I was talking about the cheese I was making. It's like, would you like to exchange some plant spirit for cheese? And I was just like, that's so high vibrational. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was both like labors of love and this like exchange thing that happened. And I was just like, you can't plan. Like, how does that work? How does that intelligence work? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I think when you're in the headspace of wanting to explore and and in some way improve yourself and whatnot, you get into a headspace where you're more open to opportunities when they come in front of you. And conversely, if a person is really locked in to a certain pattern of thinking and certain ways of decision making, then opportunity can be staring them right in the face for long periods of time, and they're totally not even perceiving it because they're not in the headspace of, oh, I want to learn and grow and try new things and sort of test the boundaries. So I think, when you're at a point where you're attending a psychedelic circle, you are in that headspace. You're automatically, just by virtue of the fact that you're present and meeting these people and finding out what their experiences are and perhaps sharing your experiences, you are very much in a headspace of, I want to learn and grow. And then I think that's where those connections just start happening really naturally and kind of effortlessly.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to put it. I'm a little bit more inclined to pure magic.
Hmm.
So
Oh, I respect that. I don't approach it from the same angle, but I totally respect that point of view.
but I think it's something to do with like the consciousness of the psychedelic,
Hmm.
like making it happen, like meeting you more than halfway. It's because like for me, it's just been like such an effortless. It's like whenever I've come across a journey, it's been like effortless,
Hmm.
as opposed to every other thing in my life. It's just been me just kind of grinding.
Yeah.
And then like meeting you and then just like the whole community there and how that spiraled into other kind of experiences and journeys. You're right, like yeah, I'm definitely open, and like I'm definitely saying yes, and then those neural pathways open you up to new novel experiences.
Yeah.
That's for sure happening. But there's also some kind of like divine, I believe, like some kind of divine breadcrumb trail. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, fair enough. And again, I
Uh,
respect that belief. And I mean, I doubt there's any one right
yeah,
perspective with all of this.
yeah.
It's all metaphor anyway. It's all us trying to understand this reality and our place in it and what we're here for and all that. And so there's so many different ways to approach that.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but I
that's
think,
one and that's one thing that I've gotten more comfortable with psychedelics. It's taught me like there's so many layers of stratifying reality.
mhm,
It can be multiple things, and I think that's what the mind wants to say. So this is what's happening.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of stuff happening. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I one, not even a caution. One perspective I have is that, and I think you've probably met people like this too through the psychedelic circle. There are people who are there, for therapeutic and spiritual reasons. And if they're there for therapeutic reasons, they'll often have the opinion that the psychedelic is a cure, like you
Mm.
pop it like you pop a pill, and then the psychedelic just does the work. And in my experience anyway, that's not how it works. The
Yeah.
psychedelic isn't a cure for anything. It's a potentially very powerful tool.
Yeah.
And that if you are heading into it with the right headspace, with the right set and setting, with very specific intentions, then some big stuff can happen. But
Yeah.
it's not just oh, I'll pop this mushroom or this LSD or whatever, and then it's just going to snap and fix things. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
I think in the immediate aftermath of the experience, it can kind of work that way because it has such a powerful neurological effect on you. But if a person just leaves it up to the psychedelic to do all the work, they're not going to have sustained benefit from it.
Yeah.
They've got to be ready and to do the work, and they have to know how to do that work too.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it that gets missed with a lot of people who are exploring this topic. They find out about the psychedelics and the experience, but not necessarily what they have to do with the integration after the fact. And the
Right.
integration is at least as important as the actual psychedelic experience. Otherwise, it's just going to be short term. And you see this a lot of times with people that say, spend a bunch of money to go to Peru for a 2 or 3 week ayahuasca retreat.
Yeah.
And
Right.
these retreats are advertised explicitly as this will be life changing. This will create a miracle in your life. Well, maybe or maybe not. It depends on what you do with the experience after the experience is over. And frequently that's a big chunk that's just missed.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, then don't even bother if you're not going to do that whole second half, because then this is going to be a very temporary thing for you. And then it might be really disappointing if a person does these experiences, does that part of the work, but then 6 months later they're right back to where they were before the experience. Then it's like, oh, this is all crap, just like everything else. No, it's not. But you have to approach it with the right headspace and understand what it is and what it isn't.
Yeah, it's definitely a tool. It's a modality.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
how many times have I sat and done transcendental meditation? Well,
Hmm.
twice a day, every day.
Hmm.
Like I'm not expecting to do one TM session and then like, be a Buddha,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah, I found it was interesting in my heart when you were saying the therapeutic model, people come into healing and they want that silver bullet and they don't get it. What I immediately just intuitively knew about myself was pre-Andy, we'll call it pre-Andy psilocybin, I would have said, unfortunately.
Mm.
Post Andy psilocybin, I would say, fortunately, they don't get that magic bullet.
Hmm.
And I would say unfortunate on the previous side because it fucking sucks sitting with PTSD and trauma.
Yeah.
I wish there were a magic bullet. You know what I'm saying? Like it's fucking hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Post psilocybin, why I say fortunately is because in my path of healing, psychedelics haven't really been the mitochondria that has gotten me out of the hole.
Hmm.
They've definitely helped, but they haven't been as titrated as, say, some other modalities, which I'll get into in other episodes, right? And I've gone enough down the rabbit hole of psychedelics to kind of know, like, just how sad would it be for somebody to like, have this like, man, I'm suffering. I really need to roll the dice here. I'm going to take a risk, do this, and it doesn't click or whatever. Like I've heard tons of times people take ayahuasca and they don't feel anything.
Hmm.
I don't know how that's possible, but it happens. And they go to Peru, and night one, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Night two is a different story, but night one, night two might not do anything, and which is, I don't know how that part works necessarily, but that can happen. And I guess my point was like these. I can't. I can no longer be in a space where I can call psychedelics medicine because. And I think we're purely talking about psilocybin here because I feel like I have ambassadorship solely over that chemical because I really don't have many other rounds other than ayahuasca. Like,
Yeah, I'm similar. I've never, the only
right.
psychedelics I've done are psilocybin and DMT.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're both kind of like probably be the title of the show. Like so, basically, we're kind of really honing in on psilocybin here. But you know, if in the higher doses of psilocybin, your experience is essentially melting into the consciousness of God, or whatever you want to call it, some kind of high vibrational conscious thing, where we'll call it the thing that you think you are dies.
Yeah.
If that happens in the higher doses, then you have to interpolate that all doses smaller than that want to do that. They're doing the smaller version of that, right? And so, in my personal opinion, with enough dives into this, is that it's not a healing modality. It's a modality that teaches you how to die. I've basically kind of reframed. I have like a term for it now. I want to start calling psychedelics NDSTs, and what that stands for is a natural death simulating technology.
Mm.
Right? It shows you what you're going to experience when you're on your deathbed. And that's important. That's important work because when you come out of that, yeah, a lot of healing has happened, right? I'm not saying healing won't happen.
Mhm.
But I'm saying if you're going in there just for the healing and you don't know the depth of transcendence that this thing wants to naturally take you on, you could get in trouble. You could get stuck going on the way out and you can get stuck coming on the way back.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know why the dialogue in this culture isn't geared towards, hey, this is a technology that you use that trains you how to die / live when you come back from it. Like You're crossing some kind of veil. It's not some kind of laser light show where you take a pill and you have some funny colors and then all of a sudden you're happier. That's just there's something so much deeper going on here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is marketing, for lack of a better word, because in this the so-called second psychedelic renaissance that started, I guess, early 2000s, um, that was coming on the heels of at that point 30 years of negative propaganda about psychedelics that started in the early 70s, where it was sort of presented falsely the way you just said. It's not that. It's not a light show.
Yeah.
Where you it's not a party drug, but it was kind of a party drug in the 60s for a lot of people, or at least that's how it was presented to them, which is one of the reasons it went so badly, because people were not being given
Yeah.
the correct preparation to have these experiences. And it sounds like that's what you're speaking to, that you need
Yeah.
to understand really what this is.
Yeah.
Now, since this second renaissance started, I think the marketing angle has been therapy specifically, because that's something you can talk to legislators about. You
Yeah.
can't well, you can, but you're probably not going to be successful if you go to Congress and say, "Hey, this is going to help people practice dying, so
Yeah, right.
that they can live better."
Yeah, yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not going to want to hear that,
Yeah, right.
but they might want to hear, "Hey, this can help our military people who are coming back from these horrible wars that they're sent to, usually totally pointlessly, and coming back with horrible injuries, horrible psychological injuries, and this can help them get their lives back." That's something you can sell to Congress,
Yeah.
and that can potentially finally overturn the Schedule One status of these ridiculous, ludicrous Schedule One statuses of these substances. They have never conformed to the definition of Schedule One.
Well, that's what I
Never.
was that was what I was doing some research with ChatGPT, doing some deep research stuff,
Hmm.
because I was contemplating, like, wait a minute, because I was thinking about, all of the hard work and money that, like, people like Maps, and I can't remember what Maps has turned into, like Lycos or something, just all the time and energy that people have trying to do with the FDA, with MDMA and psilocybin, right? Like millions of dollars in decades, like over 2 decades of work. And then, but I was thinking, like, wait a minute, how much scientific research went into the scheduling back in 70, 71? And
Oh, probably none.
it's
My guess would
zero.
be. Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
answer is zero
Yeah, that's
scientists
not
actually
shocking
did.
at all.
Like, what? So wait a minute. So now we're going to jump through hoops to prove its efficacy when you didn't jump through any hoops?
Yeah. Well,
It
that's
sh-
that's a government structure for you.
yeah, shouldn't it be like, wait a minute, we're going to do whatever we want to do. You use you prove to us that it's addictive and has no medical benefit. That's something
Oh,
you should have done.
sure. Ideally, that's how it should be. That's sadly not usually how the world works. But that's why, it's and I'll be I'm an optimist, generally speaking. When it comes to the legalization of psychedelics, I will be happy to be proven wrong about this. But my guess is that that's never going to happen, not in our
Yeah,
lifetimes anyway,
right.
because
Yeah.
there with the last thing any governing body wants, whether it's a religious governing body or a secular governing body, you don't want a population of people who are thinking for themselves. And that's one of the behaviors that tends to happen in the wake of these really big experiences, because it shakes up your normal ways of thinking and feeling, and that opens you up to be more interrogative about what's really going on, not just the bigger picture spiritual stuff, but also more grounded. It's like, okay, do the rules we have make sense? Well, some of them do and some of them don't, but a lot of people never really ask those questions to any depth.
Yeah.
In the wake of psychedelic experiences, they tend to, and that's not something that a governing body wants. They want us
Yeah.
all the same, all predictable and all therefore controllable. So
Yeah.
for that reason alone, I very much doubt that these are going to get federally legalized. Maybe on the state level, like Oregon has made huge progress, pretty
Yeah.
good there.
Yeah.
We might see a bit more of that here and there, but generally speaking, probably not, which is why shows like yours become increasingly important, because then
Right.
this is
Yeah.
where people can go to for information, for instruction, so that they can do it themselves or find other people who can help them do it too. Basically, the underground movement, which has always been there and isn't going anywhere. I suspect that that will continue to be the future for people who are seeking out these experiences.
Yeah, for sure. And part of being a psychonaut is I've gone to a depth with psilocybin to where I'm at a point where sometimes I really kind of think I don't want them to be legalized
Hmm.
because
I'm kind of on board with that too. And you go, and then I'll tell you what my thoughts are.
yeah, there's probably thousands of different reasons why, but it's just something in my psyche just says no, that barrier should exist, almost like a rite of passage.
Hmm.
Like, like the way I look at it is like I think of, 5, 6,000 years ago. I'm a young man helping till my father's farm, and that's all I do every day. And I one day I'm like I wake up and I'm like I know there's a guru on 3 days trek to the east. Dad, I need to go there and knock on his door. I don't know why, but I'm being called. I had a dream, and they have plenty of accounts of gurus summoning people like that.
Hmm.
So the dad's like, okay, I've got enough helping hands around the house. Son, go. And so he marches for 3 days and he sits, and they don't even let him in back then. You have to sit at the gate for a month.
Hmm.
And then you go in and then you get the teaching and then you do the work, right? So, like thousands of years ago, if you wanted to experience these things, you could have died just getting to the thing. Like it was a quest, it was a journey.
Yeah.
It was a rite of passage, like the whole thing. If not that, then it was baked into your psyche as a child. Like you knew, all right, when I turn 12 or 13, I'm going to go off in the woods with the other men. They're going to give me something. I don't know what it is. I haven't had it yet. And I'm going to do stuff. And when I come back, I'm going to be a hunter and I'm going to be a part of the men. Like that's just been part of how things have been ingrained.
Yeah.
And so like I kind of feel like, okay, so nowadays, if we have this legislative thing, that's like the closest thing we come to our 3 day trek. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
There's got to be some kind of like there's got to be some kind of like resistive thing where your consciousness says, no, I'm going to choose this experience.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. And that's why I would not be in favor of full-on legalization where you can just go to a grocery store
Yeah,
and purchase psilocybin. No, that's a bad idea. There needs to be, like you said, a structured path
yeah,
where the one of the steps well down the path is where you have the actual experience. And that's historically what's been the case. Like you said, there's this with going to a guru or a shaman or whatever, there's a process there. The Eleusinian mysteries in ancient Greece was
yeah,
that.
yeah,
It's enculturated and it's very standardized. And going outside those rules carried extremely heavy penalties back then, up to and including execution for people who did not obey this process. That's how important they felt it was that you don't just dive in without knowing what you're doing, because they realize, as we do, that that's a really dangerous thing to do.
yeah. It's a journey, man, and like you need elders, and I don't think that's what they didn't have in the '60s. They didn't have elders. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was recreational, and it got really messy, and but yeah, it's just interesting sometimes to play with those ideas of what if it was totally legal? Yeah, and I could just go to Publix and pick up 3 grams and then go watch the Super Bowl. Like no, that shouldn't be.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
should
because
not.
even if it
No.
doesn't go horribly, where a person has this really anxiety-inducing trip, just using them in a recreational manner like that is such a waste of their potential. Because
Right.
maybe it'll make you feel lighthearted and whatnot at lower doses. That's fine, I guess, but under the right circumstances, that could have been a life-changing experience for you, which is going to be, way more important than just having fun listening to music for a couple of hours.
Yeah. There's definitely context. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there is something to like an energy exchange of paying whatever, a few hundred or a few $1,000s, maybe going to Jamaica or Costa Rica and having an experience. Like,
Mhm.
that helps
It
because
helps, but I would. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
you're removing yourself from your environment, your neural net, and going off and having this experience.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. One thing I've recommended to people too is if they're really interested, one way they can sort of prove that to themselves is learn to grow the mushrooms yourself.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's a journey. Because growing
Yeah.
mushrooms yourself is a pain in the ass, and it takes a lot of trial and error and effort. And if you can stick to it and stay patient and learn and keep at it, then at the point where you have now successfully grown mushrooms, I think you're not all the way there necessarily, but you're well on the path to okay. And that puts you in this sort of committed headspace to where I am going to do this correctly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the absence of, say, elders who can directly guide you, fortunately, we do have lots of information accessible to us that can give you really specific protocols for how to do this correctly, which is how I approached it, specifically with the protocol that Johns Hopkins University has been using since the early 2000s in their psychedelic assisted therapy research. It's
Yeah.
a very specific, very simple protocol. Um, you can do that, but you need to lead up to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Again, just buying 5 grams and jumping in, no, bad idea. And that's not how Johns Hopkins does it either. You start low and you go slow, as they
Yeah.
say. And
Yeah.
that's the right way to do it. So it is possible to totally do it solo. I did it. Many other people have done it and done it successfully. I don't think that's ideal. I agree with you that if you can find an expert, which is, and then again, you have to vet the expert. Are they as much of an expert as they claim to be? Some are, some aren't. So you have to do some research there. So no matter what angle you take, you have to put work in, you have to put research in. It's not going to be quick and easy, nor should it be. As you said, it should
Yeah.
not. There should be a process involved to get you there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of good that it's that way, I think, because that process is a kind of adversity. Having to do that work is a kind of adversity. Having to confront your fears as you're approaching this experience is a kind of adversity. And I think that's good
Mm.
because we need adversity. It's sort of hard coded into this reality. We need the bad to have the good. We wouldn't even perceive the good in our life if it was just all good all the time.
Right.
Our brains just don't work that way. We process things that are changing. So the change from good to bad to good to bad, that we notice that stuff. So we absolutely need adversity in every aspect of our life, including the process of learning how to do this sort of thing successfully and beneficially.
Right. I just thought of a quick little structure, and this can take as long as or short as we want. I can just see me throwing up like a title card. Preparation. Let's give our hot takes on preparation.
Yeah, it depends on what angle you want to take as you approach it. Like I said, I took more of the scientific angle. I started with the Johns Hopkins research. Their papers are readily available. So are the Imperial College of London's. Tons and tons and tons of research. I would, if you want to approach it from a more scientific side of things, that's where I would start. Start reading those articles.
Hmm.
Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind, another excellent resource.
Yeah.
There's a Netflix documentary based on that book. That's a good starting place too. But I would say the first step is several months of just researching this,
Yeah.
reading, watching, listening, not even thinking about having the experience yourself. Now you're just absorbing information to get a good baseline. I would say that's preparation step number one. And then parallel to that is decide, okay, what do you actually want to do with this? What is your goal in even taking this journey and doing this whole process? Is it therapy? Is it to have a mystical state experience? Is it, what is it? Be really specific. And that's important with any process you want to put yourself through. You need to have some sort of end goal. It can be an open-ended goal, but there needs to be some kind of touch point that you're working towards. And that'll undoubtedly lead to other touch points. And then, the journey continues beyond there. So that's more or less how I went about it. And then, of course, I learned how to grow them myself, which was this whole other process,
Yeah.
and so on. So, what was your experience?
What I would say for preparation is, in my experience, my first time sitting with a sitter, and that's probably another one. But my first time sitting with the sitter, these waves of the psychedelic started coming on, and I immediately knew I'm not in Kansas anymore,
Hmm.
right? Because back then I was like, I'm an advanced TM meditator. I've been doing this for 10 years. Psilocybin is not meditation. You can meditate for 10 lifetimes and not get what you get in 20 minutes with 3 to 4 to 5 grams of psilocybin.
Yeah,
It's just
agree.
not the same thing. What it was, immediately I knew, I said, this is a chemically induced breathwork session. So for someone who's brand spanking new, they know they're maybe working through some trauma, maybe some PTSD, or just something is blocked energetically in their life that they know maybe these plant spirits can help them kind of melt and work through.
Hmm.
Start with breath work, and it's a mouth engaged, belly chest. I guess the family of breathing would be holotropic or rebirthing, and there's a whole bunch of people doing it now. It's kind of the new yoga. That's what I would suggest. Get at least 10 to 12 sessions of that. By sessions, I mean a 30-minute session spread over the course of 2 to 5 months.
Hmm.
Get really comfortable diving deep with breath work. That's one way to do it. But if you're like, you know what, I get that. Maybe I haven't done breath work at all. I've done a little bit of breath work. but this is really calling me. There's an opportunity. There's a retreat 2 weekends from now or 2 months from now. What should I do? The only other way to do it is do what you said, is you start low and slow. Take 0.5 grams with a sitter, treat it like you just took 10. Maybe 2 weeks after that, take 1.0 grams with a sitter, treat it like you just took 20 grams, like treat it like a ceremony.
Hmm.
And then what you've done is you've just given your brain experiences of how the tactility of this thing is going to move through you.
Hmm.
And then, okay, now you're ready for a therapeutic dose. Those would be my kind of two main bullet points is breath work and or very small early doses spread off over months.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, and then you can experiment with 3 and over. Those are really the only two paths you can safely have control without, and it's all about letting go of control, but there is this potential where you get into a deep experience where you've taken too much and you didn't prepare properly, and it becomes its own trauma. Like you're traumatizing yourself because the metabolizing force of this spirit is asking you to basically rip open into God. And your trauma has been keeping you safe for however many decades of your life. It's not going to want to budge.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that experience trumps that hold and you clamp down harder and it's trauma. And like after my first 3 gram and then 8 gram experience, I was out of it for 2 weeks. I was like literally sore because of what I was holding on to physiologically.
Yeah.
So those are my two. Those are kind of my hot takes.
Yeah, I can't speak to the breath work because I really haven't done that, but that makes sense to me. I did do the start low and go slow. So
Yeah.
again, after
Yeah.
the arduous journey of learning how to grow the things, and on the fourth attempt, finally having some success, then I started with like a quarter of a gram, sub threshold. Didn't
Nice.
even feel it.
Yeah.
Um, and then half a gram, and then a few weeks later, 1 gram, where I was now starting to feel it. But it was totally at 1 gram, it's totally handleable. You're not going to have to worry about the big stuff at that point. And then
Well,
just
I would say I did 0.9 and I was ready
really okay.
I would say have a sitter for 0.9. It's
I
just
guess
again
if it
it's so,
depends on the
yeah,
strain
it's so
too.
yeah, it so depends. But you don't want to be the person saying, "Oh, it's only 1." And then that strain kicks in and all of a sudden it's 2.5 and you've
Hmm.
never done it before.
Yeah, oh yeah. If it's a new strain, then you start with a fraction of a gram and whatnot. Blue meanies. The one time I did blue meanies, boy was I glad I did a low dose of that
Yeah.
because 1 gram was like 4 grams of golden teacher, which is typically what I
Jeez.
use. Um, and fortunately, at that point, I already had enough experience to say, "Oh, okay, this is going to be a big one." So I
Yeah, right.
turned on the playlist and got the journal out, and then it was perfectly
Yeah.
fine and a very good experience. But I was very glad that I had some experience under my belt at that point.
One other thing I'm thinking about preparation you and I could just touch on is, setting, sitter. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Well, I've only ever tripped solo. So I
Yeah.
have sat for other people, but I've never had anyone sit for me,
Okay.
largely because I was concerned about that I would get very self-conscious and
Yeah.
that I would prevent myself from really having the experience fully.
Yeah.
But that's why I was very careful to start really low and very gradually increment it up so that I wasn't just diving into the deep end.
Yeah.
And I've not had horrible experiences. I've had very difficult trips further on in the process. The first few 5 gram experiences were profound and
Mm. Yeah.
unspeakably amazing, but I would not describe them as difficult because the tough stuff had not yet been dredged up.
Oh.
Subsequent high dose trips were a different story, though.
Yeah.
That's where the muck really got roiled up, and it's like, okay, now. But part of that too was that the intentions I was setting before the experiences were specific to that. At the first few times, my intention was, I just want to see what this experience has to show me. That's it. Really general. But then subsequent trips is, okay, I want to deal with this trauma thing that's been in my life for a very long time. Now I want to start dealing with it. And then that trip was a difficult trip, but it was intended to be because I was
Yeah.
dealing with difficult stuff.
Yeah.
But at that point, there had been enough experience and enough research for me to know how to deal with that. And there were specific strategies I had in place in case the trip started going into difficult territories. Unfortunately, those strategies worked. And then those end up being for me anyway, the most therapeutically useful experiences because boy, oh boy, journaling when you're on 5 grams of psilocybin, I mean, your subconscious is journaling directly. There are no walls, there are no safeguards. That's all shut down for a few hours. And so you just start writing and you don't have to even think about what you're writing. Your subconscious is going to immediately take over.
Yeah.
And then 8 pages later, there it all is. And I mean, years later, that's still really good stuff for me to return to. It's wonderful, wonderful. But that only happens if the trip becomes difficult, and then you have these techniques, these strategies to deal with that difficult stuff.
Yeah. Wow. You mentioned, you just alluded to it. Let's dive into it. Let's talk about the humming.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Because that was such a blessing. The
it,
cheese mushroom exchange, no, that nugget got me through it.
oh, that's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. But if
Yeah,
you
that
feel
was the
panic,
second thing you ever told. No, that was the
yeah,
first thing you ever told the group. And I was just like, and I knew it was just like a current, like divine, magical current from a guru. And I was like, "Woof,"
and
and
I
it was
felt
just like it helped.
when I realized how effective that. And so first of all, the technique. If you feel anxiety rising, and if it's heading into panic territory, immediately you just start. Well, you can do mantra chanting, or it can just be straight up humming. You take a
Yeah.
deep breath, hold it for a couple of beats, and then hum on the
Mm,
exhale. And
yeah.
you feel the vibration in your lungs and in your throat. You
Yeah.
feel the control that you have over that breathing, and you focus everything on that. And then, bam, I mean, within seconds, generally within seconds, the trip comes right back on the rails
Yeah.
because you're focused away from whatever it was that was causing the anxiety, and now you're focusing on just the simple control you have over breath
Yeah.
and the beauty of the feel of this vibration of your own breath going through your body, and it just brings it right back on the rails. And so you do that until things are really settled and you feel okay again. You just keep on breathing and humming,
Yeah.
and then get out your journal and just start writing, and don't even think about what you're going to write. Just move the pen or the pencil on the paper. Your subconscious will take it from there.
I'll get back to the humming, but when you say journaling, in the psilocybin, you got the come up, peak, and come down. You're not
Mhm.
journaling on come up and peak, right? You're
No, no,
journaling.
no. I generally only journal if the trip goes into difficult territories. The journaling is because what's happening is that a trauma is now front and center, and that is anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
So you do the hum breathing to get yourself back on the rails, and then get the journaling out, and then whatever was causing the memories of that trauma, it's going to be. And what I usually do is I'll start by saying, I was just feeling intense anxiety about this, this, and that, because usually there's a specific memory that will
Yeah.
rise that causes the anxiety. I was feeling anxiety because this memory happened, and then that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it
Believe.
just starts happening on its own. And then the anxiety does not return because you're putting it all out on that paper. And I think it's really important to do that physically with pen and paper, and not like to type it out or to dictating it would, I imagine, would work well, which is why I think if you're paired with a sitter or with a therapist who's trained with using psychedelics, I can see that working beautifully. But in the absence of that, journaling works exceptionally well too.
Yeah. I'm just the way I work because I know enough about the journey now where I don't want anything to interrupt peak.
Hmm.
So whatever comes up for me going towards peak, I'm just me and the oh God, I just called it medicine again. Me and Silo
Yeah.
get me to peak, and then maybe afterward I'll get on my tape recorder and kind of like, you know, preach the
Oh yeah,
gospel and
that's
work through some
that's
stuff. So
absolutely, yeah.
I would generally tend to guide people towards just be with it to peak. And then
Hmm.
if something's coming post peak where you want to try to process some stuff, maybe that's okay. But I would generally try to lean people towards just be still silent with the music pre peak.
I
But it
would
kind of
I
sounds like you're also using it to help you through those rougher times when you're on your own. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I would agree with you generally speaking. But if during the peak you're hitting these really anxiety-inducing things, then you don't want to live in that space because then that can go into
Yeah.
full-blown panic, and then the
Yeah.
whole thing is a bust.
Yeah.
So the breathing and the journaling, that's to keep it on the rails and to get, because that anxiety, that's okay. That's what you're here for. You
Yeah.
you
That's the
want it,
purpose.
you
You want
wanted to
that.
work on that thing. Well, here it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so get yourself back on the rails and then journal about it, or if there's someone there, talk to them about it. But then go back into the peak. It's not like I journal for the rest of the experience.
Okay, all right. So you're just, yeah. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
I
just it's a
was.
tool to get it back on the rails and to get hopefully some insights out of this experience. But then once it's on paper, which is generally a few minutes, you're scribbling like crazy when you're in that
Yeah.
state.
Yeah.
And then yeah, now lay back, focus back on the music, and go right back into it. And generally, what I find is once that anxiety inducing stuff is out on the page and I've written down the insights, I can go back into the experience far more deeply than I did prior to that. Even if this whole thing is happening on peak, because that anxiety is now out of the way, I'm like free and clear to navigate more deeply into
All
the
right.
experience.
Yeah, so it's almost like a cognitive hum.
How do you mean? I mean,
It's
that sounds
almost
right,
it's
but what do you
almost
mean?
like a hum. Let's go back to the hum thing. So like no, we'll stay on this.
Oh,
So
I see
like
what you're saying then. Yeah.
you're using a hum to soothe and get through the wave.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're using writing to say it's kind of like a hum. It's kind of like, okay, I just, that's the crest, the wave breaks. I can set the pad back down and
Yeah,
I'm done.
okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's a grounding experience, but
Yeah,
you also can come away with pages of insights that are going to have a long-term benefit for you.
true. Right. It's literally a journal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I just had one note about the hum. I'm not a doctor or a physiologist,
Hmm.
but I know that the vagal nerve is attached to that humming. And
Okay.
so like usually what's happening when you're hitting a hard spot is your a memory within the actual tissues of your body is coming up. And it's trying to go in and like limbically and cerebrally be
Hmm.
experienced. And that's too much. And so like things get dark, things start like kind of wrapping in on themselves like, oh, this is too intense. Well, that's because there's something from literally in the body that needs to be expressed. And so that humming actually soothes what's called the polyvagal nerve. There's a dorsal
Okay.
vagal and a ventricle vagal. It's like a huge nerve that goes off to from your brain, and it essentially connects your body to your brain.
Hmm.
And so, and they think that that's why Buddhist monks chant is to just kind of like continuously titrate trauma from their body.
Okay.
And so that humming is actually doing something to the physiology where something rough comes up because we're all storing all of these knots.
Hmm.
And that humming kind of like allows those knots to kind of come up a little bit more kind of gently and then sheathe off.
Okay.
So I think that's what's happening with the humming. And then, man, as we're talking here, I kind of just have this vision where like I want, my show and this conversation with you to be useful to anyone in the world. And I just like see, I grew up in like a small town in upstate New York. And, you've got like small towns all over America, like Omaha, Nebraska, or Penn Yan in upstate New York,
Hmm.
where these people, all right, I can spend 50 bucks and get these spores delivered to me. I can grow my own. And we're giving them guides to get there. But I really kind of want to stress the harm reduction of having that sitter there just in case something happens. And so I know that you've done a lot of solo work, and I've done a lot of solo work too,
Hmm.
which I probably shouldn't have. I would probably have to suggest having someone there who has at least experienced what you're experiencing once. If not, then have like maybe an RN in training or like an LPN,
Hmm.
somebody who knows how to like take care of you. So I would strongly recommend to have some kind of sitter.
Yeah, I would agree with that generally speaking. When I've done my solo trips, there's always been someone on. I always let a particular person or a couple people know what I'm
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
and when I'm doing it. And I say, if I get into trouble, I might ping you to get support. And there was one occasion where I did do that. And so I would say at the very least have that on standby ready to go. And ideally, yes, do have a trip sitter, preferably someone, as you said, who's had these experiences themselves, so they'll understand what you're experiencing too, and they won't get overly alarmed at certain things they might see and hear.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, but then there's people like me who, again, I'm a very self-conscious person. That's one of the things I'm working on. But I knew me, and I knew that if I got into difficult territory where I'm just like openly sobbing or something like that, I would not be able to let myself really feel that with another person in the room
Yeah,
because I would be so embarrassed to have them see me that way. Not,
yeah.
this is not a good trait, I realize, but that's just where I'm at, which is why I've insisted on only doing it solo. But I do agree with you that that is not ideal. ideal
Yeah.
is have someone else there with you who knows what they're doing and can just provide you the simple comfort, which is mostly what a trip sitter does. They're not interpreting, they shouldn't be interpreting the experience or anything like that. They're not really guiding it. They're just there to be a comforting presence for you.
Yeah.
And I was recently reminded of that by a friend who's doing high doses of ketamine to treat treatment-resistant depression and anxiety. And this person did it, and they're doing this in a clinical setting, not on their own. So this is under the this supervision of a psychologist or psychiatrist, I forget which of the two. And the first really high dose experience was difficult for them because it was more than they had ever experienced with ketamine before. And based on their description, they were starting to experience ego death. They had the
Whoa.
telltale signs of that you feel they felt like they were dying and they were losing their mind. It's like, oh, you were on the threshold of ego death.
Yeah.
Sure sounds like it. And to the point where they're like, I'm never doing this again. But then several weeks later, they decided I'll give it another try. But this time, their spouse was in the room holding their hand the whole time. There was also, the clinicians were there too to provide support. And that second time, fantastic experience. And the person came through that feeling better than they have ever felt in their entire lives, to use their words. So that comforting presence makes a massive difference if you can stand to have another person in the room with you when you're going through these intense experiences.
Yeah. Well, it's also just kind of like, because I remember thinking this way back, because you and I have touched base on our techniques many times, and hearing that the solo thing versus the sitter. I think at a certain point in your evolution, it could be helpful to do a very small amount solo. I
Mhm.
think that there's something to that. Like there's something to the walkabout nature of self exploration. But if you think about, I personally believe that humans have been around a long time. I know not many people believe that, but I kind of subscribe to, at least 2 million years we've been hanging out on this rock, right? Just the mammalian brain, we've had other hominids around the campfire for millions of years around
Mhm.
us. So it's been okay to fall asleep at the campfire because there's been like 20 or 30 other hominids kind of checking things out and making sure everyone is safe.
Mhm.
Or like kind of like, the zebra. One takes a look and they're all looking out for each other and they all flock. There's something like physiologically ingrained in our brain where when another hominid has your back, you can dive deeper.
Yeah.
Like you can die into this loving experience because that part of your brain is switched off. Like I don't have to be vigilant.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that sort of genetically, that is us. We are communal beings. We
Yeah.
do desire that kind of connection. But for a lot of us, and this was, my experience, we don't necessarily grow up with that sort of experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
We grow
I
up
was yeah, I
in,
was saying not anymore. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
we grow up, in very insular families, and sometimes the family does not have your back. It's not a communal experience in the positive sense. It could be a
Yeah.
family that's quite toxic and
Yeah.
dysfunctional, as mine was. And you learn in those situations not to take comfort from
Yeah.
the other people you're connected to because that
Yeah.
comfort can lead to pain, or that search for comfort can lead to some very painful experiences. And it teaches
Mm.
you to be insular yourself, which I'm sure is why I have such a problem tripping with other people present.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of need to do it solo. So if there are people in that sort of situation, probably well, I shouldn't say probably, they may feel the same kind of discomfort with another person in the room
Yeah.
that I do. And if that's the case, then okay, then do all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Start
There's
very low and go very slowly
yeah.
and make sure you do your research and make sure you don't do any of this quickly. Take your time
Yeah.
and don't get in. And then, if you do it patiently and you do it sensibly, you're not going to get into trouble. But you need to be very disciplined about how you do it if you're going to do it solo.
Yeah, it's nothing to fuck with, man. It's definitely
Absolutely.
it's just you're knocking on the door of an ancient powerful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this has
Um
the power to
like
really to really what's the right word? It has the power for wonderful things, and it has the power to absolutely wreck you if you don't do it right.
yeah. Yeah. It was funny about like what you're talking about with the trip sitter. Um I had to do really quick work really fast when I first worked with the sitter, because the sitter that I sat with, there was like immediate sexual attraction.
Oh yeah, that can
And
be a distraction
I was
for
like,
sure.
oh God, fuck it. She's gonna essentially see you metaphorically naked and
Hmm.
vulnerable. I'm not gonna end up getting with this chick. I just need to let it go. But it was work I had to do in the session.
Yeah,
Like I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that started coming up. That ego started coming up. Like she's hot. Fuck, I just gotta let go and feel this.
I said you're better off going with like a 130-year-old monk who's barely alive, and
It's
they're
like
just kind of robes and a little bit of skin and a lot
it's
of
like
knowledge.
there's no way Andy's keeping his cool in front of this. Let's just let go. She's your sitter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so there was. I think there's always going to be some shade of whatever. No matter who sits with you, you're gonna experience some kind of mask having to drop.
Yes, yeah. You will be the most vulnerable you have ever been or could ever be.
It's like literally, are you comfortable having this person see your asshole?
Yeah, and that's for starters.
Yeah, that's just getting in the door. That's
Yes.
just that's just knocking on the door and saying
Yeah,
hello.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like if you don't feel that comfortable, then that's not your person.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, that's funny shit, dude. I guess we need to talk about integration real quick.
Oh,
The
sure.
importance
I
of
mean,
that, because
that's
I
like I
feel
said,
like I
argue.
feel like we're good with prep, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
Basically, be careful. Don't jump in ignorantly. That is
yeah,
a great way to get into a lot of trouble.
yeah.
And I mean, the integration, for me, a lot of that comes out of the journaling.
You're right. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
revisiting that and then expanding on it in the days and weeks after that, and then identifying specific action items from that, and then you stick to it. You commit to, okay, here I now I get why and this is just a for example, this experience has helped me gain some serious insight into why I catastrophize so much. In every
Mm,
situation, I'm immediately thinking of the worst case scenario. And oh, now I know why. It's because I grew up in a household where the worst case scenario happened very frequently. So
mm,
my brain was trained to expect the worst because it did
yeah,
happen back then. But this experience is reminding me that that's not who I am anymore. That's not where I am anymore.
yeah,
Now I'm in a much better, healthier place. I don't need those strategies anymore. And what you need to do is come up with systems to remind yourself of that weeks, months, years after the fact, when your brain is no longer in this post psychedelic malleable state, when it's settling back into hopefully a new pattern. But you need some reinforcement mechanisms to remind you of the insights and to remind you of the bad habits to avoid and the good habits to engage with. For me, that's a huge part of the integration right there. You're literally integrating the insights into your life by changing your behaviors in small, incremental ways that you really commit to, because that's how big changes happen. They don't happen fast. They happen when we make small changes but stick to them consistently. And then those healthy choices compound over time. And a year, 5 years later, you're going to be a different person if you really stick with it. And that's the integration.
yeah. Right on. That's beautifully said, bro. Yeah. Wow. So now, interesting question for you is like you were mentioning, okay, your upbringing maybe was a big part of you staying solo with it. Would you say your integration also kept you solo, or were you craving different types of connectivity than with the hominid, the
I would say
hominid like?
it helped me be more open to connectivity generally.
Yeah.
And I would certainly be more open to having a trip sitter now than I ever would have been back in 2021 when I started this. Like that thought does not repulse me anymore the way that it used to.
Right.
Um,
And that's a
but
result of the work.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 And just letting my guard down and not having the shields up constantly the way I used to. I'm not going to claim that I'm all the way there. I probably will never be all the way there, and that's okay. We're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for progress. Even if it's small incremental progress, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
all you need. But just stick with it, and then that small incremental progress again will compound over time. So yes,
Yeah.
to answer your question, far more open to doing that these days than I would have been 5 years ago.
Yeah. Again, I'm just trying to think of that, you know, 20-year-old something in some, way off in small town mid America, just trying
Mhm.
to like make sure that he's got resources, like every human being has resources from this talk. ideally, I would love people to already have some kind of relationship with some kind of talk therapist or
Hmm.
some kind of therapy,
Agreed. Yeah.
you know, or I don't know, just some kind of group or something. But there is definitely something involved in even if it's online talking to. I mean, there's plenty of integration groups now online. I
Hmm.
mean, I mean you can. I mean, you can just throw a stone and hit them online now.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm also going to include that hotline. There's a psychedelic hotline
Oh, great.
where I'll have to look that up. I'll definitely include it in the description.
Hmm.
But another thing I would say is just movement, like as simple as walking,
Hmm.
because what you got to remember is again with the humming, with the physiological, like the knots from the physiology just got released. This is really big in the Vedic culture too. Just like you did the work, now like action, like solidifies that work in the body. So I would say walk, do something you love to do, anything, play the sport you love to do, play the game you love to do, the hobby, engage in the world. I think
Yeah.
it's probably a big one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In the days after a big psychedelic experience, don't plan on having big meetings or heavy workloads or any. Yeah, be kind to yourself and give yourself a chance to just be with the experience after the fact, because it's going to be a big experience and you're going to need time for that initial massive processing.
Yeah, yeah. And even with all the work that I've done, and I did a bit experience back in August, I hit the ground running after that way too quickly,
Hmm.
where you'll just be in the grocery market and all of a sudden just this wave of emotion just comes. And
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're new to this, that could happen in your car when you're driving. You
Hmm.
don't want that.
Yeah.
So for sure, take your time with it. Make sure it's integrated.
And
Diet.
wait until you're 25, I would also say, before starting this. Because at that point, your brain is done cooking. Not that you can't create more neural connections after that. We certainly can, and these experiences facilitate that, which is part of why they're so powerful. But wait till you're 25. Give your
Mm,
and also not just from a physiological health point of view, but if you're going to experience ego dissolution, I think that's a more profound experience if you've lived with your ego for a certain amount of time, because then
interesting.
you really feel the change more profoundly when it goes away for a while and then comes back.
Yeah.
And I think that you do need to be you for 25 years. Well, really 20 years, because our egos kind of solidify around the age of 5. So for 20 years,
Yeah.
be yourself, whoever that is, and then experience you, the you think you are, going away for a while. I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. I remember one of the members of our community there at the Tampa psychedelic thing. He said he took LSD when he was 10.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, God
Good
dang.
God, that is crazy. I hope it was a microdose.
I don't think so, dude. I don't think it was I don't think it was heroic. Dude, I have no idea. I love the guy. He's so funny. I'm not going to say his name because I don't have his
Sure, yeah.
permission to say anything. He's just a fucking awesome dude. But
I'm glad he came through it okay, but that is super
yeah,
dangerous. I mean, 10 years
yeah.
old. No
I
way,
mean,
no way.
any amount of LSD at 10.
Yeah, there's
Can you
there's time
imagine?
there's time for this. There's
Yeah,
no rush. Just
yeah.
oh,
But I don't know though, Joel, because you think about bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, prom. There's a lot of egoic stuff happening. 12 to
oh,
18.
sure, yeah. I mean, but I would say it's probably too soon to dissolve the ego at that point. It's fine to establish what you think your identity is and to figure out what kind of a person you want to have, but to zap your brain with that level of psychedelics, I think is probably not a good idea. I'm sure it's survivable. I'm sure people have done it and been okay. And also know people who've done it, say when they were 18, and they got into serious trouble from which they never recovered. That is a
Yeah.
real thing. And I
Yeah.
personally know someone who did it, and their experience, because they did not go in with the prep, they also
Yeah.
went in with a family mental health history that is not ideal for this, that being
Yeah.
schizophrenia and severe bipolar, and it triggered a psychotic break in this 18-year-old, and he
Yeah.
never recovered from that. So
Shoot.
that is a real thing, and there are true dangers to this,
Yeah.
which is why it's so important to be very careful and to take your time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really kind of not that accurate to put an age on it, right? Because everyone is just so individual, and
Hmm.
also like we don't. we're not in the tribe that supports this work. Like
Yeah.
on any level, like you said, family, societal, legislative. So yeah, I could definitely see you definitely want to be grounded. You definitely want to make sure you're doing a lot of work. And also, I think I don't know where the research is at this, but I remember back when I was taking psychology classes a long, long time ago, they were saying that schizophrenia usually has onset in the early 20s.
It does, yeah. So usually
So,
if you've reached 25 and it hasn't manifested, you're probably in the clear, but I am not a mental health professional, so disregard everything I'm saying. But generally by 25, and certainly if you're in your 40s or your 50s and nothing's happened, okay, I'm pretty sure you're in the clear at that point. But if you're 18 and it's getting new, that's too soon, too soon.
I just think of all these ancient cultures, though, and we don't know what the hell they were up to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I gotta imagine they were bringing their kids,
Well,
12, 13. And also, like 13-year-olds 200 years ago, they were in charge of the manor.
oh yeah,
Like they were
you grew
adults.
up quick back then. So
Um,
13 back then was not 13 now either.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, under ideal circumstances, probably a teenager can do this perfectly fine. I'm sure many have. I'm still never going to recommend that. I'm going to say, look, you've got your whole life. You've got time for this. Don't rush it.
Yeah. I, yeah. I'm more so like if you're taking the time to be still and silent, maybe you have a meditation practice, maybe you have like an awesome yoga practice,
Hmm.
and something about this spirit medicine is calling you, then that's something to entertain for a few years. It's like, okay, this is calling me. And let's say you are 13. Okay, it called you at 13. Maybe you don't do it till 17, 18 or whatever. But if there's something genuinely calling you to that work, like I knew at a very early age, probably 13 or 14, and this is mainly through cinema. What was it? It was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, I know of that movie, never seen it.
Oh man, it's so fun.
So what is it about it that was so significant for you?
I just remember seeing this imagery and how that the character was interacting with reality, and just something deep in me said, "That is where it's at.
Hmm.
That is where it's at for me."
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with healing. It had just pure explorational reality.
Hmm.
I just knew like there's something there, but my nervous system was working with trauma that I had no idea I was completely blind to the trauma I was holding on to. So
Yeah.
my body never ever and I was hanging out with my good friend of mine was doing a lot of acid.
Hmm.
And he just told me like, Andy, you can't handle this. I'm not gonna. He literally just wouldn't let me do it.
Hmm.
And I thank him so much, because if I did, I probably would have been like that other guy that you just said. It probably would have set me back a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. And I'll return to something you said near the beginning of our conversation. Is say someone's 13 years old and they're really curious about this. Hold off on the psychedelics, but start with breath work.
That's what I'm
That
saying. That's
you
what I'm
can be
saying.
super safe with breath work, and you can do that a lot. And start there and build up your skill sets there as perhaps as a prelude to doing psychedelics
Yeah,
further down the line.
yeah. And I was a breathwork coach for many years, and I've coached people in breathwork where afterwards they say that was bigger than ayahuasca.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Breathwork is its own psychedelic,
Hmm.
and it's shutting down that default mode network in your brain, getting
Hmm.
pure limbic. So you're experiencing what you would experience on a psychedelic. Like
Okay.
you experience ego death. You experience literally the dissolving of all concept into
Okay.
pure light.
Yeah, and I've heard that before, so and I don't doubt that it's legitimate. So start there. Do see where you can go with breath work, because there's a whole lot of ground to cover there.
Yeah, I mean it's limitless. It's endless. It's not work that I'm feeling called to do right now, but it's work that I've done a lot of.
Yeah.
Like I've done a lot of breath work, and that's probably why I was able to go from 0.9 to 3 to 8
Hmm.
within a matter of 3 months.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that at all to anyone, but I had a ton of breath work under my belt,
Yeah.
where you all of a sudden you're able to feel the metabolizing rate of psilocybin. You're like, this is literally how my breathwork session metabolizes
Hmm.
with emotion. It syncs up apples to apples, and you're just so much more like, okay, I can go into this because I had that breath work, ego death. I've had that breath work, emotion and trauma release. Okay, I'm ready to dive into this.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I highly recommend breath work, and also for the person in Canandaigua or Pinyan or Rome, New York,
Hmm.
ton of breathwork stuff online as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I've been looking into breathwork videos on YouTube just to sort of dip my toe, which I haven't gotten very far with. But yeah, as you say, there's a lot of information, a lot of very specific instruction. So there's no need to dive straight into 5 grams of psilocybin. There's
No, like, and
many
again, like,
other options.
and that's why I think I was touching base earlier about like the legalization and stuff. It's like there's something about the plant spirit journey that it just kind of feels just really detached from healing for me. It's its own. It's so deep and it's such its own thing that it's almost just like this is a tool that comes into play once you've got really grounded healing mechanisms in place. It's not something you do early on to heal
Yeah,
because it's just too you know you don't use a blowtorch to light your birthday candle.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just too much.
Well, yeah, I can agree with it. I frequently think of all the therapeutic benefits as being sort of a side effect of the whole experience.
Right.
The experience is more than that, but the therapeutic benefits are a thing that happens along the way, which is
Yeah.
awesome. But it's way bigger than whatever therapeutic benefit you're going to get from it.
I had this funny analogy that I was telling my friend recently, and this kind of goes back to like me, like preparing for death, which feels heavy, but to me, it's very pithy. I love it, but it's kind of like you go for a pedicure slash healing, but you're going for a pedicure, and that's where you're going for your healing. And it's like, oh no, yeah, your toes will look great, but as they're doing your toes, they're strapping up your ankles to a bungee jump. And it's like, hey, so what's going on with this? And I notice I'm sitting by a cliff. What's that all about? Well, that's the psilocybin journey you're about to take, but you're going in for your toes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But nobody's telling you
I
you're
like
going to
that.
jump.
I like that
Nobody's telling
analogy.
you you're
Yeah,
going to bungee jump.
yeah,
So don't think you're going to get your toes done. They're going to get done. Like your toes will look immaculate, but you're also going to experience.
something slightly bigger than that.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be negative or at all. You're going to experience a type of death.
Yeah,
Like your consciousness will merge with some kind of field of intelligence that is beyond you, and it will not be describable for potentially months or years later.
yeah. I would argue it will never be describable, and that's where a lot of people can get into trouble. Like when
Yeah,
you come out of one of these experiences, you want to talk about it. You
yeah,
want to tell everybody about it. It's way better not to.
yeah,
Because first of all, there's no way to describe it. It is not possible, um, and any attempt to do so is going to fall so short of the mark. And either
yeah,
people are going to be like, there's tripping balls, whatever. It's just a drug experience, or they might take it overly seriously and then see you as some sort of prophet or whatnot.
yeah. All right.
And then if a person who's had these experiences comes away with it with a big hit of ego inflation, and I personally know one person for whom that happened,
Oh, really?
that can really go off the rails in a different way. Not in a I've had a psychotic break way, but in a I am now insufferably egotistical because I think I am God incarnate and that I am the everything and everyone else is a part of me. It's like, no, no,
So,
no, no, no.
yeah,
That's not
yeah.
that's not what happened.
So that person needs to do more
Well,
because they
I
haven't
think
got there yet. You know what I'm
they
saying?
I wonder, I wonder about that because I felt the tug of that kind of ego thing, but fortunately a wiser voice said, "No.
Yeah,
No, this is not about you. Do not make this an
yeah,
ego thing. You are not going
yeah.
to be the messiah that saves the world by reintroducing it to psychedelics. That's not
Right.
what this is. Don't do that." Unfortunately, I listened to that voice, but I felt that tug. But I know someone who they tugged right back and they went into it. And
Oh man.
man, were they for a period of I'm going to say almost a year, they were insufferable. Every cloud, every dewdrop, every blade, every insect was placed there by them for them.
Oh lordy
And
lord.
they believed they had magical abilities and all this. It's like, okay, no, you don't. I know it feels real to you, but you're just sort of playing a very intense game with yourself right now. You just got a big hit of ego inflation. And fortunately, their supply of psychedelics dried up, and that all goes away, and rationality kind of kicks back in after a while, which did happen with this person. Thank goodness, because
Good.
they're a very nice person,
Yeah.
very generous. They just did too many psychedelics without taking breaks in between.
Yeah. Yeah. You can definitely get cooked. It's funny. Like where did I want to take that? Yeah, I've watched too many like documentaries about cults and guru
Mm,
cults and stuff to like, and every time I'm like, I feel so bad for the cult leader.
mm.
I'm like, what a drain.
I, well,
Waking up every
this
day and
I
just
don't know. I think cult leaders have it pretty easy. I think it's such an easy job to
no.
have people believing every word you say, and the
I
person
don't
that
know, dude. They're so suffering though. They are so suffering.
it
It's like,
depends. I mean, I'm sure
oh,
that exists, but say that the person I was describing earlier, they started a little cult. They started having
oh,
regular meetups, and it didn't get very large, but it was definitely the beginning of a cult. And the cult leader was riding so high on the ego boost that they were getting from all of the validation they were getting from people saying, "Yes, you are it. You
yeah,
are." The one who's going to show us the way. They were loving life during all that. They felt so validated, capital V, validated by these people who believed every word they were saying. They were having a good time with it until, they started coming back down to earth and realizing, okay, I've gone a little too far in some places here and I need to reel it back.
wow, wow,
Yeah, it can be a minefield out there. That's why, research and taking things slow. I think that's the combination that's gonna probably yield the best result.
yep, right on, man. Yeah, man, we kind of covered a lot of material today, like we always do, man. I always
Yeah.
love walking away conversations with you, man. Like it's its own psychedelic whirlwind of content.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we
So
haven't even touched on DMT, which is probably going to go beyond the scope of this conversation, but that in some ways that might be the safest even of the psychedelics, even though it's the most powerful because it is so short duration that even if it goes bad, it's not going to be bad for hours, which is I
yeah,
think where the real damage can happen. It might be bad for a few minutes and that's it. And then you're 20 minutes later, you're completely sober. It doesn't have the same kind of recovery time that psilocybin does.
mm,
Although you can have many of the same experiences on DMT as you can on psilocybin, as
yeah,
well as many other experiences that you don't have on psilocybin. It's DMT is wacky.
hmm. Yeah. I think that might be a dice that I'd roll
Mhm.
in this lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, it's worthwhile for sure.
Yeah,
For me, it has not had long-term therapeutic benefit. It's been more
yeah,
interesting, I would say, than beneficial. Whereas psilocybin, that I really can't imagine needing anything other than psilocybin when it comes for the spiritual exploration and the therapy that can result from that. Psilocybin is where it's at as far as I'm concerned.
yeah,
I'm sure ayahuasca can be the same thing. I'm sure there's a number of other psychedelics that can be the same thing too. For me, psilocybin. And when
yeah,
you can self-source it and you know for sure that this is good product, and especially when you've gone through the experience of growing it yourself, that makes it kind of extra special. Um, so yeah,
yeah.
DMT is interesting. Probably not something I'll do huge amounts of more experimentation with, but it's been an interesting ride, I would say.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah, and also psilocybin is the most. It has the lowest carbon footprint.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's the most environmentally sound source. Like, let's say, like the Renaissance continued to grow and more people do it more and more often.
Hmm.
It's literally the top of the list. I worked with ChatGPT to generate a list of the most sustainable psychedelics.
Hmm.
It's top of the list.
All right. I guess that makes sense. It being a fungus, and it doesn't require chemical processing of any
Yep.
kind. So yeah, very
Yep.
low resource.
Yeah. And like one cap of that can repopulate an entire
That's
batch.
right. Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like it's infinite.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, I look forward to the next one. Um, Covered a lot of ground. Anything else you wanted to cover? Any last kind of recap?
I don't think so. I think we've kind of highlighted and emphasized the really important stuff. Just be
Yeah,
careful, do your research, find people you can trust to talk about it with, um, have some really specific intentions going into it, and be patient. Be patient and kind with yourself.
beautiful. All right, my man. Well, I'll be in touch. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Andy.
All right, cool.
All right. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate your support. Again, if you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you can, and leave a comment. I want to hear what you think, what parts you liked the best about it, what you thought resonated most with you. And yeah, I will catch you on the next one. Lots of love.